Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with jazz bassist Tarik Hassan. We spoke with him on May 25th, 2020 about his newest CD, Yalla. He opened up about this new COVID-19 world and so much about his life and music. He is a first-generation American son of an Irish mother and Palestinian father. His music is a mix of his experiences and influences. He's able to draw on the music of these rich cultures as well as the musical traditions of America to create music that has a truly unique sound. Originally from Jacksonville, Florida, he spent the better part of a decade living and working in New Orleans. He's got a great story. Enjoy.
Well, and you're in a unique position because you have an album that's coming out during this whole pandemic. Yalla is out May 15, and that has to be a unique thing to have an album come out during such a magnanimous time in human history because, you know, on the one hand, the people probably have more latitude to listen to it, but on the other hand, you can't do anything live for it.
Right. Yeah, so it's like reaching out, trying to promote it using social media and email and all those kind of platforms has been interesting. You know, people are looking for stuff that's new and everything like that. But yeah, not being able to, you know, say, okay, we worked on this music, here it is, and then present it in a way that I think it's most effective is, you know, in the live setting. It's jazz, right? So that's improvised music. It's supposed to be experienced in the moment. So not be able to do that part of it has been kind of interesting and not challenging, but just kind of try to come up with other creative ways to kind of get that across. And so right now I'm kind of focusing on letting the album actually speak for itself because I'm pretty proud of it and was happy with it, the way it turned out and the musicians on it. So I'm letting that kind of speak for itself right now.
You have an interesting background and with biology and geography. You have an Irish mother, a Palestinian father. You have New Orleans roots, Jacksonville. Talk to me a little bit about, you know, kind of your childhood and how jazz became a part of your life.
Okay, yeah. So I was born and raised in Jacksonville. And I really, you know, as a kid, I was playing electric bass and teenager and rock bands and stuff like that. And so it wasn't really until kind of the end of my teenage years, kind of more towards getting into college, actually was finding jazz that route. A friend of mine said, hey, check out this bass player. I think it was Ray Brown, you know, give me kind of a burnt CD of stuff, and then Mingus and stuff like that. So then I kind of, you know, I was at the point in my life where I was like, okay, I want to see what else the bass can do. So I start looking through jazz and think, oh, wow, the bass is not just playing, you know, just the root and just kind of sitting there in the, you know, pocket. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but, you know, see what else this instrument can do. But growing up, you know, I didn't really, as a kid, I didn't really have music lessons or anything like that. The music I was exposed to a lot was in Jacksonville with my father's family. A lot of them have immigrated from Palestine due to the conflict and for work and things like that. So I was always surrounded with Arabic music at just kind of like, you know, we'd always have barbecues and things like that, being in Florida in the summer especially. There was always Arabic music on, and then there was always weddings and New Year's parties and everything. It was always fully Arabic music, so I just kind of grew up with that. And then my mother being Irish, the other half of that, you know, from born and raised in Dublin, she would always have some of the traditional, more the ballads and stuff, the Irish ballads. So that was just, those two cultures were just from day one kind of in my ears. And then obviously growing up in America, being American, the American influence was just kind of natural. So I don't kind of necessarily think of them as separate as kind of getting into them this way. It's just kind of all, it's part of like being in my ears. And then now I kind of think of it as piecing those things together in an organic way, and that's kind of the approach I've always tried to go for. And I think with this album, that's something I've kind of gotten closer to. But yeah, so that's kind of like growing up. And then, I went into community college in Jacksonville, and that's kind of where I kind of started to really get to play the upright bass and learn jazz and a little bit of classical as well. And then I went over to Florida State and study with the great bass player Rodney Jordan. Over there, he's the Marcus Roberts trio right now. But I was there for a couple years, and then Rodney suggested, hey, you might want to think about going to New Orleans. That might be a good place for you. And so that's what I did. I went over there actually in 2005, 2 weeks before Katrina happened. And then when all that happened, I actually went back to Florida before. I wasn't there for the storm or anything like that. Not affected in that way. But spent a couple years in Jacksonville, and then went back to New Orleans in 2007, and then stayed in New Orleans from 2007 to 2013. And I did a master's degree over at the University of New Orleans, studied with the great bass player Roland Guerin and all the great faculty they have over there. And got to work, in the city. And New Orleans is such a great place and was huge for my development, as a musician, and just getting to play, work with great people, getting to listen to a lot of great people, and kind of getting that concept together too, of that kind of organic sound in music. I think it's kind of that New Orleans is known for. Everything just feels good, feels organic, So I was there till 2013, and then I kind of, at that point, I came over to Austin, Texas, and I've been here ever since, working, playing. I did a doctorate at the University of Texas, Austin, and just been here since.
You've had a lot of really good experiences on stage with a lot of different cats and, traveling quite a bit. What experiences right now, live, especially during this absence of live music, are you really drawing on that just is kind of keeping you strong, or good memories that you have from the stage?
Oh, wow. There's a lot, yeah. So, playing with my band is always a fun experience. I mean, in a different way, being the bass player, we're such a supportive role in the music a lot of time, which is great, which I love doing. So leading my band, when I get the chance to lead my band, it's a very different experience, where everybody's looking at you to kind of give the cues, direct music. I write all the music that we play for most of the part, other than, adding the standards in and stuff. But so that's always a unique experience for me, and I kind of just right now, wanting to get back to that, having these memories. And I had some CD releases that were supposed to happen, and of course they didn't, which is understandable. So that kind of keeps me fueled to keep working and kind of keep going. But there's so many great times. One of the things, I do jazz and I do fusion, world music fusion and stuff. One time last year in April, I got to play with a great musician here in Austin. We did a filming at the old Austin City Limit Live recording studio and video, and there's great fusion of Indian Romani gypsy music and flamenco music, and got to play with that, and we kind of recorded that over a couple nights, and it was really great. So that was one thing. But then, just, being back in the clubs too, and being back in the community, and kind of experiencing, right now, before all this happened, I was the house bass player here at the Elephant Room, which is our main jazz club. The house bass is for the jam session every Monday night for the last 4 or 5 years. And I mean, that's such a great experience, because you get to basically at some point play with every musician in the city, or everybody who's traveling through the city. So, and just to hang, getting to kind of have, it's a communal music, and it's really, I think, best expressed when we're all improvising, living in the moment, and that kind of thing. So definitely miss that. I can't wait to get back to that. And then, when I was in New Orleans, getting to play with a lot of great musicians. My last CD, my first CD that came out, I released that when I was living in New Orleans around 2010. And I had, he wasn't on the record, but on the CD release party, I had Jason Marsalis in the group, and we got to play some with that. And, got to play with guys like Delphio Marsalis and Jason and in New Orleans. And, that kind of, those experience of playing with those guys as a sideman too, where people are just kind of keeping you on your toes and at a higher level. It's something that's hard to do, I guess, when you're home for 2 months just practicing.
Yeah,
so,
I get it.
Well, there's just so many to get. It's just could go on forever. When I was in New Orleans, working with a guy like Ed Peterson, he was a sax teacher there. I did a record with him, and he's kind of his own force in the universe. Such a great musician. I got to work with him for a long time, and just trying to get back to working and playing with as many people as possible would be great.
Well, let me ask you this. We're going to get back to live music, and when we do, when both musician and audience members come back, what do you hope we realize from this absence of live jazz? What silver linings that both the crowd and the musician gets?
Yeah, this is a conversation I've kind of been having with a lot of friends, other musicians, and it's, the music industry, right? It has changed so much, and, right now, musicians are trying to think about a way we can make a living, and there's all these streaming platforms and a lot of great ways you can get to people, but in the end, making a living off these streaming platforms is kind of a joke, right? As far as the royalty system for something, like some of the platforms, but I think it's there. I mean, being in a city like Austin is great because there's a lot of great musicians, and the people in the city really take pride in having live music. The slogan of the city is calling itself the live music capital of the world. So I think just kind of I think everybody's ready to get back out there, and everybody wants to do things at a high level. So, trying to be positive about it, think about the silver lining, is I think it's making people kind of appreciate being able to play more and kind of be able to put the best foot forward every 100% of the time, which, is the goal for everybody, but this kind of puts it in extra focus, I guess. So, in the way we consume music, I think, and the way we appreciate live music is from an audience perspective, putting myself in those shoes, similarly, my non-musician friends just so ready to get it back out there and just, be a part of that scene, because as much as great as these, people are doing these live streams and trying to stay connected, and I know it's going well for some people, it's never I don't feel that it can ever substitute being in a live environment. So I know there's a hunger for people to get back out there and be in the club, be in a performance hall, and have the music surround you, and have the music that, you can feel it, as a bass player, feel that bass going through your body, the low frequencies. So I think, if things, if we can learn from this situation, maybe we can kind of come out in a more positive way of knowing our value, knowing our kind of our mission as musicians to kind of connect people and use music as a way to connect people, and the audience, being receptive to that. I think maybe that could be the silver lining.
I agree. So my final question to you is this. Everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, but you're living your life. Who do you think you are?
I'm just another bass player, right? I'm just trying to, that's such a big question, right? I'm just trying to, something that jazz music, improvised music has taught me is, there's many facets and many ways you can go about your life and about different situations and to how you want to live your life. There's no one right answer, and there's multiple ways you can go at any one time. So, I just try to be, as a musician, the best musician, bass player, composer, sideman, supportive role I can be. As a teacher, which I do a lot too. I teach at Temple College here in Temple, Texas, and for what I want from my students is just to be the best teacher I can be, to help them grow as musicians, So there's a lot of different hats, but I guess that kind of boils down to just trying to be the best person in all, perspectives. As a musician, just trying to be the best I can be and the most honest I can be, with this record. Trying to kind of put my statement like, this is me. I guess really my record kind of, if you want to hear what I am and what I sound like and my thoughts, I think it's on the record. And it's try to make it as personal as possible, even without lyrics to go. Maybe hopefully the listener can get that question of who I am by listening to the record.
That's a great answer, man. Hey, thanks for taking some time out today. This very crazy, surreal time in the world. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Good to talk to you.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in New Orleans, Florida, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Tarik for his time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.